talking about leaving. That's the 3 times in sports that I felt this kind of pain.
And by the way, that is a cliff, because Brady was top 1, and now you're top 15. That's a big drop-off in a year and a half, let's say. Money today because I actually have to sit here for 2 hours and listen to your drivel. Yo, he's not the best ever, but he's the greatest ever, and I was a year off, not 2 years off. You're all over the damn place. And then you just finna say it in the same breath that everybody would mortgage their future in order to win a Super Bowl now, but you condemn the Patriots for sitting there and keeping Tom Brady instead of Jimmy Garoppolo when they won 2 Super Bowls and winning 3 straight Super Bowls from the time you said the cliff had arrived. It's unbelievable. It really, really is. Talking about Tom Brady, if the New England Patriots, specifically Bill Belichick, if I believe, this is my personal belief, nothing else, if he were treated better by Bill Belichick and not treated as just somebody that, you know what, you're just another player, as opposed to a 6-time champion, the quarterback who has led this franchise to 9 Super Bowl appearances over the last 19, 20 years. If he was treated as such and acknowledged in that fashion, I don't believe that Tom Brady would be departing from the New England Patriots for next season. I don't believe he would have said goodbye.
There are thousands of quarterbacks that come through this league. There will be thousands of quarterbacks that come through this league for the time being that will never achieve what Tom Brady has been able to do because Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots organization put him in a position to be successful.
True. You know what? You can huff, you can puff, but you ain't blowing nobody's house down this way. I disagree with you, and I'll disagree when we get back from commercial, and we'll elaborate on why. You can stick out your chest all you want to, acting like you right, but you ain't right, Marcus Spears, and I'll deal with you in a second, swag goo.
Oh, Lord. Y'all are so cute like that with those
about
chubby
Marcus
cheeks.
Spears with the glasses and the beard as
Oh,
a baby.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
I'm telling you, the baby face Marcus Spears really, really works. That really worked. When I was able to put that together, I couldn't pass that up. That was hilarious. I couldn't pass it up.
So good.
Oh, man,
so
By
good.
the way, why don't we do the whole show like that? Let's be honest.
Thing I've been a part of. Oh man,
It's hilarious. It's so good.
My sister's still laughing about how I said you can huff and puff, but you ain't blowing nobody's house down. Because you heard Marcus breathing all heavy in the background while he was talking. Yeah, that's heaving. Like he was running. Max, he was breathing like he was running 2 miles and talking at the same time. I didn't know what the hell was wrong with him.
So good.
You know? Shoot.
So good. That was a lot of fun.
Carmen said that?
Yes, Carmen.
My goodness,
So
so
good.
funny. All right, guys, good stuff. I'm glad we got to show that. We all needed that laugh. Let's get into some more news, though, and I want to get back to that Houston Texans situation right now. So remember the trade where they were sending Pro Bowl wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals? That made news both on and off the field. On Get Up, Hall of Famer Michael Irvin shared some strong comments from a conversation he had with Hopkins following the deal. Listen to them.
Coach O'Brien thought he had too much influence over the locker room. He called DeAndre Hopkins in a meeting to talk about this and to kind of, I guess, hash it out. In that meeting, he started the meeting with telling DeAndre Hopkins this that blew my mind when DeAndre told me this. He told DeAndre Hopkins, he said, hey, the last time I had to have a meeting like this, it was with Aaron Hernandez. I was like, what? He put in Aaron Hernandez in this meeting? He said, yes, he did. He said, Michael, that blew my mind that he would even bring that up. I've never been in any trouble. I don't know why would he equate me with Aaron Hernandez. And from there, the meeting just deteriorated. You know, he got into talking about DeAndre Hopkins because DeAndre Hopkins has a few kids and from different women. And he said, you know, he told DeAndre he doesn't like that he has his baby mamas around sometimes. And from that, I think the relationship just went bad. And thus, we got a trade of DeAndre Hopkins from Houston for basically, like I said earlier, a ham sandwich, all because of that relationship.
All right, some heavy stuff here. Hopkins took to social media himself yesterday with the following statement, cleaning it up. This is being blown way out of proportion. As I've said before, I enjoyed and am proud of my time with the Texans. I have the utmost respect for Coach O'Brien, and that will not change. Now, I'm ready to play for the Cardinals. Stephen A., now that we've had a day or so to digest this, where do you stand on the Hopkins situation?
Well, it's no different than where I stood yesterday. I definitely, first of all, let's be clear. Michael Irvin spoke to DeAndre Hopkins directly.
So as we're working out the technical difficulties with Stephen A's audio, Molly, this is real simple. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't want a distraction. He doesn't want to be distraction. This flies in the face of what Michael Irvin told us that DeAndre told him, that Bill O'Brien told him. But I want to cut through everything. Even if, and then it was leaked like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins wanted a big contract, and so he was trying to move him. Even if none of the bad things Bill O'Brien said are true, right? Like, he never said any of that stuff. Let's just say for a second. And everything's true that DeAndre Hopkins somehow was a distraction, or worse, he had big contract demands they didn't want to meet. However you slice it, Bill O'Brien is a laughably bad GM. Look at the trades he's made. Look at how they've panned out. Look at what the going rate is for a top flight receiver, even with contract demands or likely contract demands. Look what he got for DeAndre Hopkins. David Johnson has a bad contract, running back with a bad contract. Any team would be expected to be compensated for taking the contract. Here, take a draft pick in addition, a third-round pick, and take the contract. Not only did they not get compensation for David Johnson's contract, they traded DeAndre Hopkins for him and only got a second-round pick in the deal? Like, cut through all this stuff. Don't let it distract you. Bill O'Brien made an awful trade.
Well, listen, let me get back to what I'm saying. They've evidently resolved my technical issue, Swagoo. So let me go here by saying this. Number one, Michael Irvin spoke to DeAndre Hopkins directly. He would not have revealed what he revealed about DeAndre Hopkins' personal business if DeAndre Hopkins didn't tell him to. I don't believe that for 1 second. Having said all of that, I think DeAndre Hopkins saw the report, reflected on it, and said, excuse me, this is giving the people a license to get into my personal business. So his willingness to go out there and deflate things a bit is totally and perfectly understandable, because he probably didn't expect it to take on a life of its own the way that it did. And I think as it pertains to him as a father and his situation with his children, at the end of the day, it's none of anybody's business. He can do what he wants to do. And I'm going to lean towards what Ryan Clark said yesterday, and absolutely positively no disrespect whatsoever. But Tom Brady has a similar situation in terms of multiple kids and from more than one person, and nobody ever brings him up. So the characterization that is accorded to DeAndre Hopkins, at least in his mind, is something that black men in particular would find very, very insulting, because that's not the same thing that's accorded to white men. To be very, very clear, right, Bill O'Brien has every right to sit up there and say, excuse me, I don't want all of this in the workplace. You can have whatever situation you have in your personal life is your personal life, but there shouldn't be children or there shouldn't be significant others in the workplace. He has every right to say that. Yeah. But in the end, what it comes down to is
DeAndre Hopkins is doing, everyone else should imitate.
I don't know. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm sorry. That's all. But outside of that, here's the deal. What the hell you traded for? This is a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. This is the best option Deshaun Watson had. And the fact that you traded DeAndre Hopkins, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'd go into Bill O'Brien's office and I'd ask to be traded, because I think this man don't know what the hell he's doing as an executive, or he allowed his personal feelings to usurp whatever football judgment we believe him to have. That's what I would ask if I was Deshaun Watson.
All right, let me take this in parts, because I agree with what both of you are saying. And two things can be true, like we talked about yesterday. It can be true that DeAndre Hopkins doesn't want this to be blown more out of proportion than it already has, which is why he came out with a statement. But it also can be true that Bill O'Brien made reference to Aaron Hernandez and said that he didn't want his baby's mothers around. I don't even know what that means, first of all, because when you're at a facility in football, ain't nobody bringing their baby mamas to football practice or around the facility. So I don't know in what capacity that Bill O'Brien would be telling D-Hop that he don't like them being around. Besides that, Max, you are so on point with what you just said. We have traded a wide receiver that is prolific, like Stephen A. said, a future Hall of Famer in his prime, 27 years old. When you have a budding quarterback that's about to get a massive contract as well, that has leaned on DeAndre Hopkins. Not only has Deshaun Watson leaned on DeAndre Hopkins, all all of the quarterbacks that have been through the Houston Texans organization since DeAndre Hopkins has been there, guess whose production hadn't went down? DeAndre Hopkins production hasn't went down. This is personal. This is something that did transpire in my heart of hearts, and it's wrong, man. Look at what Minnesota got for Stephon Diggs, and look at what the Houston Texans just got for the Cardinals. Bill O'Brien made a personal decision based on something about DeAndre Hopkins that he does not like.
It's certainly head-scratching. Want to get the NBA in here quickly because I have an update for you guys. So as the NBA continues to be suspended and dealing with the coronavirus, in news of some players testing positive, League Commissioner Adam Silver joined our Rachel Nichols to discuss the potential options for a return. Take a listen.
I'd say I'm looking at three different things here. One is, of course, when can we restart and operate as we've known it, 19,000 fans in buildings, and sort of that's one set of criteria. Then option two is, how would we should we consider restarting without fans, and what would that mean? And then the third option that we're looking at now, and I would say all suggestions welcome, is that, as I sort of beginning of this interview, I've mentioned the impact to me on the national psyche of having no sports programming on television. And one of the things we've been talking about, are there conditions in which a group of players could compete, and maybe it's for a giant fundraiser or just for the collective good of the people, that you take a subset of players, and is there a protocol in which they can be tested and quarantined or isolated in some way, and then they can compete against each other, just because, again, people are stuck at home, and I think they need a diversion, they need to be entertained.
All right, that was the commissioner. Max, how do you like Silver's proposed ideas?
He's right on the money. There is a reality that, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, the idea that we all expect equal health outcomes is just not the world we're living in, and there are primaries going on in one political party that speak to that. That's one of the central issues. But he's right on the money in terms of historically and going forward what we should expect in terms of wanting diversion from this, particularly when people are trapped indoors. There is value there as tests become more widely available. You could expect even before then for organizations like the NBA to be trying to get their players tested, things like that. But more than any of that stuff, guys, there's Adam Silver front and center, taking questions, behaving responsibly, and right on the money. I have to say, as usual, his commissionership has been no one's perfect, but it's been an excellent example to others.
Max, option number two is best. Play the games without fans in attendance for two reasons. Number one, you get the players back on the court. I'm not talking about that, obviously, at this specific moment, but getting the players back on the court to compete with one another is better than a charitable event. You get them back on the court. Obviously, you'd have to have some workers there, but you wouldn't have an audience. You get the games, but in the same breath, the omission of the audience highlights the importance of practicing social distancing, which clearly not enough people in America have taken heed to with their idiotic, irresponsible selves. Stop socializing in person in a bunch of crowds with people you don't even know. That's the whole objective the medical professions have been imploring us to do. Listen to them. And if you ain't around family and close ones or whatever, keep your distance. Don't shake hands. Don't go up to one another, hugging one another and all of this other stuff. Period.
100%. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow.